So let me explain. Today I work for Hewlett-Packard, or HP. 3 weeks from now, I will work for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, or HPE. So now understand, from our branding point of view, I have given you, when we speak about Hewlett-Packard Enterprise going forward, we must mention the whole word set, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, after which we may say HPE. So I'm going to talk about predominantly HPE today. HP Inc. is our sister company. We describe it as being 2 cars in 1 garage. I guess because we were invented in 1 garage, HP originally. So predominantly I'm going to talk about where we have gone thus far as HP, where we're going as HPE. HP Inc. is following a similar path in that they also are going to be using a SafeNet solution. But I'm not exactly sure what they're going to be doing with it. I'm going to talk a little bit about my background. I am, as was mentioned, actually a distinguished technologist, which means I have gray hair, I have trouble seeing, I actually have some teeth missing, but that's mostly because 13 weeks ago today, I enjoy bike riding, okay? 13 weeks ago today, I was out training on my bike I ride for the Hewlett-Packard endurance team, and I got knocked off in a hit and run. So I lost some teeth and damaged myself a little bit. So pardon the way I speak. Customer satisfaction. You've heard over and over again today, hardware, software, etc., etc. I came from originally, oh, that's nice. Let's try that one. Yes, short introduction. So this is how technology's gone in my world. This actually is the first computer I ever worked on. That's not me, by the way. This was it was a Ferranti, which originally was designed to guide missiles, British missiles. So who knows whether it was any good, because I don't think we ever actually hit anything. I used it for X-ray crystallography. I used an IDE. I'm a programmer, all right? That's where I came from. This was my IDE, my development environment. The other tool I had was a wire wrap tool, but you can see it was predominantly hardware. I went from there, I progressed to something a little more advanced, a PDP-8 made by Digital. Started to see a little more software now, as I actually programmed in something called a high-level language, which was called Focal. I can remember writing least squares regressions using the Focal language. It was a little bit like BASIC. That's Peter Pauling, son of Linus, who's a local guy. I worked with Peter on some problems at University of London. Hello, thank you. My next assignment was a little more pleasurable. I worked in Hawaii and actually used Hewlett-Packard equipment here because it was the only equipment that had disks that would fly across the surface without crashing at 14,000 feet, which is the altitude of Mauna Kea. I designed and wrote the control systems for the telescope and for the dome, and for some of the data acquisition systems too. The software here was something called Forth, so it also was a high-level language. It worked in real time, so now we're seeing more and more software. Okay, then I moved to Silicon Valley, and I worked on a VAX. Probably there may be some people here old enough to have seen one of these. I actually still own one of these, not quite this big, but it's in a garage somewhere belonging to a friend. So software was getting more valuable. So now we have the concept of licensing and license keys. Everyone equates licenses to license keys. We've heard that several times today, I think. Then I did some work also for a company called Micro in Switzerland. That little box there had the same power. Actually, I think it had 2.4 the power of the one in the previous slide. That actually is my box. I still own it. It's holding down the bottom of a desk in case we get an earthquake. Again, license keys, now we're getting media. So software is becoming increasingly important as we move forward. Now, I went to work for Symantec, actually just over here in this building, just a little way over. This was the latest and greatest thing. This was an appliance. It too had license keys. When you did an update, you had to put license keys in to do an update. Whoops. BMW bought 4,000 of these. When they got their first upgrade, I don't know whether you can see that, you must wait at least 30 minutes after completing this task before beginning either of the next tasks. 30 minutes times 4,000. Can you imagine the overhead of dealing with that? What kind of customer satisfaction did we get at Symantec? This is more recent. This is Moonshot. This is our programmable hardware. It's some of the latest and greatest. It's not the latest. We've got some new stuff coming out called the Machine, which you may have heard of. But this was pretty good too. Problem is, feature not licensed. You need keys. What can I say? Licensing stifles or has stifled innovation. I don't like the word innovation very much. It's thrown around too much. To me, innovation means an innovative step means your life must be changed. So innovation should be a large step. So where have we gone? We started out in the first slide, something like that. We've gone from there to here, when really we wanted to go to here with our licensing and our entitlement system. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, if I can get this to work, what we've done at HP. Now, some of the things you've heard about so far today, we've actually been doing at HP, and we're continuing to do. I want to say that licensing is never finished, or what we're doing is never finished, because the world is changing constantly, so we have to change with it. So these are some of the sections I'm going to go through. Okay, entitlement. So we use Sentinel EMS in one of our applications. We use a competitor's product elsewhere, but actually Sentinel replaced that in one piece of our business, and we're working on replacing the rest as we move forward. I don't like to use really software, hardware, whatever. I like to differentiate between what I call a hard product and an entitled product. So the commerce of a hard product, I think we've heard this several times today, so I won't dwell on it. Once it's shipped, you own it as the end user. It's the only entitlement you have is maybe a warranty, 30 yards or 30 seconds. That's the warranty I got on my last car. The end user is responsible for everything, okay? With entitled products, the end user actually never owns the product. They're entitled to access the product or service. So when I say product, I don't just mean a box. I mean maybe a service. In HPE's case, we have a very complex business. We have our own financial arm. So we can not only sell you a solution and you pay for it up front, but you can lease a solution from us, or you can finance a solution over a period of time, or you can purchase a solution on pay-per-use. A solution which may consist of services, hardware, software, a pair of shoes, a car. You're entitled to those services. So that's an entitled product. So an entitled product for me encompasses a wide variety of things. So understanding entitlements against usage in that model, that's the business model we're talking about, is really important. And it's important to our end users and the partners we work with. So that's the model I'm talking about here. Okay, so in 3 weeks our colors changed too, and you're seeing a glimpse of some of the colors of the new HPE. They're green and blue and orange and stuff like that. But we can see that the world of IT is really changing, okay? So it's changing from, from an IT-centric model to, and as an enterprise architect, it's interesting to me that enterprise architecture has always meant there's a fence around the corporation, and that's no longer the case, because enterprise architecture now has to include devices in our customers or end users' location, systems in our customers or end users' location. So this now, especially with IoT, is beginning to creep even further. Some of those locations may be stationary, some of them may be mobile, some of them may be in my car, which was only guaranteed to work for 30 yards or 30 seconds. It actually went longer. I managed to get here in it today. So for instance, IoT is all about the business model which we talked about. You've heard this over and over again, so I'm probably not going to dwell on it. Maybe I should be using the, yeah. So here's a little video.
The Internet of Things is a revolution that's taking hold all around us. From pacemakers to roadways to home security, the physical world is quickly becoming one big information system. As a result, every business will be delivering new benefits and connecting with their customers in new ways. But how does all this happen? Turns out, the Internet of Things isn't just about things, it's about service. For example, car companies now do more than sell cars. They provide services like real-time traffic reports, accident response, even remote vehicle repairs. And medical device companies are improving patient care by monitoring and sharing health information from implanted devices. The fact is, becoming a connected business means becoming a service business. It's a huge transformation that requires a whole new system, operational models, and expertise. Our platform makes it easy to launch, manage, and monitor.
Okay, I don't want to advertise for these guys anymore. But you can see what hello, come on.
For any business.
For some reason it won't go to the next slide. It wants me to finish the video. So I'll you think so? Oh, you're right. Thank you. Okay. So it's about service. So, or service or entitled products. So entitlement management is really becoming very important in terms of a business model. Speaking of devices, it mentioned medical devices. I actually have one in here. And if you look at your Wi-Fi, you'll see there are two Wi-Fi networks. One's called Sometimes and one's called It Depends. Well, there's a reason, all right? It's because one's on AT&T and one's on Verizon, and they don't always both work, and I like to be always connected in case something goes wrong, all right? So I have a very close affinity with the medical applications, which I won't go into right now. One of our main focuses at HP is to look from the customer in rather than HP out. We want our customer to be able to use, and our partners obviously as well, who are supplying our customers, to be able to use our products and services and throughout the life cycle. And the most important part of their usage is these sections: use and manage. Yes, they renew. Yes, they buy. Yes, they upgrade. But they're just a tiny slice of the overall customer experience of our products. So we want to be able to give them the right tools to be able to use, understand their value, and understand how much use they're getting out of their products, and perhaps also understand whether they're getting value for the money they spend. I would say that HP is actually HP's biggest customer. So we are our own customer, so we examine our usage of not only our own products that we use, but other customers' products. Pano and I are working together on trying to, in going forward in the new company, putting together a complete continual understanding an asset management program of all of our own usage with the appropriate processes. We're already working with some of our customers doing the same thing, but we haven't really practiced what we preach. So Pano has a PhD in applied math. He is a deep information distinguished technologist, and that's one of the reasons we work together, is we want to see the problem from both sides. We want to see it from our customer side, which is us primarily, and then map that onto our customers, and then as a supplier going forward. So we think of asset management as the use of something. We have something which we call transparent licensing, which means with our trusted customers, we trust them. With our untrusted customers, we don't, and maybe we need to use keys. But we need to be giving information both to ourselves and our customers. The important part of what we're doing in entitlement product commerce is gathering information for us and allowing our customers to gather information for themselves. Now there's another little video. This is a plug, kind of. Well, there's no sound. Well, maybe we'll skip that. So what's the architectural approach as an enterprise architect? So again, business-driven, always business-driven. So we look at our business architecture, and I'm going to skip through this because it's boring unless you're an enterprise architect. We look at use cases. And then we look at the supporting technical architecture. Now in HP's case, because we have such a large problem, the actual entitlement management is really a small part, but a very critical part of the overall problem. Then we have the logical and physical architecture over the top. So we use an enterprise architecture that's structured like this. So we look at the entitled product business. Then we have security built in, and then applications and data. And we kind of distort that in that we look really closely at the business as the driver with the appropriate workflows. Now, when we were analyzing how our business work, these are the steps we went through. We said, as an ISV, we sell entitlements in our entitled product business. We sell them to an entitled product user, either directly, or perhaps through a channel partner, or perhaps through an OEM. Often, mostly with our own internal developed IP, but often with IP that's supplied to us. We need to be able to manage IP that's supplied to us and ensure that we can pay for it on whatever basis we license it. We need to be able to work with our channel partners and OEMs and exchange entitlement information back and forth. And we also need our end users to be able to manage entitlements. So you see ISO standards, we're very heavily into the ISO 19770 set of standards, which I'm not going to go into now, but if you want to know more about it, you can come and see me afterwards. There was a slide actually in the last session which said every member of a company in the entitled product commerce, the stakeholders are huge. Across the top, you can see the steps in the life cycle of an entitlement. There's new product introduction to start with, then the various stages, which is cyclical because of renewals and true-ups, and then as an end of life at the end. And down on the left-hand side, you can see a list of all the stakeholders, which is all the departments in your company. The only department probably that's not interested are maybe those people that come around and clean up at the end of the day. Although I maintain also they have a stake, because people that get frustrated with licensing tear up lots of paper and throw it in bins. So there's more work. But it includes channel partners, end users. It's all one group working together. This is really important. So when you're bolting together your business to handle entitled products, all of these stakeholders have usually, if not always, a process where the little X sits in the life cycle. So how did we approach this? Let's ignore that. We actually have a playbook. It was a playbook I put together. So just so you know, prior to joining, I haven't been at HP that long, I think two and a half years. Prior to that, I worked for two companies which you heard about yesterday, EMC and Dell. Clearly, they didn't hear what I told them. But during the time of working for those guys and some others, I developed a playbook for helping companies move from hardware only or physical product only to entitled products. So this kind of describes, so I had to sell this into HP when I joined. I have to say it's a very open-minded group. The management has changed over the last 5 years, and they're very easy to work with. So put together a set of processes, one for each stakeholder. It maps onto that little matrix I just showed you. Define all the, so these are kind of standard enterprise architect steps, if you will. Figure out the owners, work with all the constituents or stakeholders to understand business objects, make sure the requirements are clear. So I have a template which we used to build our playbook out, and we used the playbook in different pieces of HP over and over again. The latest people to come to my group were actually HP Financial Services, who said they have all the billing and everything worked out. They're trying to figure out how to measure usage for some of the offerings they're making on a pay-per-use basis. So that fits into the entitled product arena. I should say we have several pay-per-use products now, which originated with autonomy. We have our first pay-per-use product based on, or solution I should say, which is constitutes of hardware and software coming out in next June. And it will, by the way, use Sentinel to drive it. So metrics, we heard earlier on, metrics are really important. I'm not going to read this slide to you. Everyone will get these slides, I'm sure. If you get them after the end of the month, they'll be in pretty green and pink and whatever colors rather than blue. Understanding the metrics is really important. So I think in the last presentation, what we heard was putting measuring points in place before you start is really important, because you don't know whether you've been successful or not unless you can generate some metrics. But it's important to understand the metrics before you start out. So the sequence that we went through, understand the partners and the end user's context. So if you don't have partners, don't worry about the partners part. Just understand the end user's context. Educate all of your stakeholders. That includes your partners and your end users, and the people who are emptying the bins, by the way. Playbook preparation, new business processes. So in other words, you're really building your new company before you get to worrying about technology. Technology is really the last step. And I'm just repeating what was really said in the Gartner session here at the end. So goal number one, deliver customer satisfaction. So I've gone through the whys and the whats. the whys and the hows, and this is really the what. And I want to show, this is where we are at HP. This is the sequence. First signs of intelligence, probably 3 years ago or 4 years ago. People were beginning to be intelligent. They got really intelligent after I arrived, of course. Rudimentary tools emerged. So that's, if you like, maybe the entitlement system that we're replacing with EMS. Is that a good enough plug? Bright future vision. That's where this is where we are now. All right. So HPE is a large but a very energetic and very enthusiastic company. I can see some things going on inside of there that I see in much smaller, if you will, unicorn companies. HP has got a very bright future, HPE. Now we have some mess to clean up. We just split a large behemoth, $120 billion company into two incredibly agile, $60 billion companies. I have to say, it went really, really well. We've been operating as two separate companies now for 2.5 months. And we still all get our email, the phones still work, the shuttle still arrives with the people in it. They haven't given us any buses like the Google people yet, but hey, we can only hope, right? Over the next 2 years, we're going to let things settle. Legally, we'll be separated at the end of the month. But as I say, we've been working together as two separate companies for the last 2 months. Now we've actually got to disengage to get to the point we have a lot of service agreements between the two companies where HPE services HPI and vice versa. We've got to disentangle ourselves from those. So we've got a mess to clean up. Bring out the power tools, so maybe we bring in more EMS stuff. And eventually full self-service automation. So by self-service automation, yeah, portals are important, but our June product that's coming out, the customer won't ever go near a portal. They'll work with the product. If they want an extra feature, they'll dial up the extra feature in the product. All our infrastructure behind it will set up the orders, billing, authorization appropriately. So that to me is real full self-service automation. Not only that, I know we have some people from NetApp here, right? Did I see some NetApp people here? Yeah, we'll be doing some of the things that they do really well. They do online diagnostics, and we're just starting to do some online diagnostics with some of our products. So we're passing a lot of information back and forth between the customer and us, and it's information that the customer is comfortable giving to us or not. And it's done in a nice self-service way. So we've actually had some results. So 2 years ago this month, we started working actually with Dave DeMillo. Is Dave here? Yep. We started working with Dave DeMillo because we wanted to put in an entitlement management system. So we worked with Dave and Julie and some other people and some people from our team. We spent 2 months, was it 2 months? Maybe less than 2 months. Crunching out some documentation, deciding what we needed. We signed a contract in February, right? February. We turned our system on November 18th last year. Now this is a huge piece of HP's business, and I mean tens of millions of dollars. And you can see our customer satisfaction, which was at 55%, has gone up. Dissatisfaction has gone low. I hope dissatisfaction has gone down. And this is how we've got so far. But we're only part of the way there. Dave and Shlomo and the rest of the team, what they've done is when we've asked for things, they've actually changed the product so that some of the things that we wanted in the product they've put in and will be they're there for everybody, not just us. So we've a long way to go yet. There are, I don't think we'll ever be finished, which is maybe good. But this just shows These are the metrics. These are real metrics. When you go to my HP licensing, you see EMS Sentinel sitting behind it. There's a whole slew of other systems there as well, but Sentinel sits at the middle. That's it.